What is up, everybody? Little Monday Night Football and the GOAT pulls it off. I'm John Middlekauff. This is a 3 and Out podcast. Make sure you go subscribe down below in the description, as well as subscribe to this YouTube channel, Volume YouTube channel. Check out everything from Coward to Richard Sherman to Darius Slay. We got it all covered. Obviously, other sports as well, the NBA. We got it. So we got you covered right here, 3 and Out. Me, John Middlekauff. Let's dive into some football. Okay, watching that Monday night game, you know, in my job, especially with a one-off game, you kind of got to develop the take on Thursday night and Monday Night Football throughout the game. You're like, what angle am I going to say? What's going on? Obviously tonight, Tom Brady, I'm not talking about the Saints. No one cares about a 4-8 team that does not even own their own draft pick. You know who's the big winner tonight? The Philadelphia Eagles. They own the Saints' first-round pick. Eagles are about to go 16-1 and somehow have a top 4 pick. It's crazy, but get ready. It's going to happen. And so it's just Tom Brady. And you're watching the game. He looks miserable. And I'm texting people, just like I'm sure a lot of people are texting people. Listen, there's been some buzz, like, are the Niners going to go after him this offseason? Could he go back to New England? I'm watching this guy, and I understand those conversations. I'm watching this guy scream at people. Throw his helmet, freak out, which he's done his entire career. He's literally doing it every series. And there are points in that game where you just go, I don't know if Tom's shot, but he doesn't quite look like Tom Brady. He's getting pressured. He's hitting the ground. He wants no part of contact. Don't blame him. He's 45. I wouldn't want to get hit either. His passes, let's face it, aren't quite as crisp. Not in terms of arm strength, but airmailed some deep balls, skipped some other balls. You're like, we've all been watching Tom Brady now for a couple decades. This doesn't quite look for Tom Brady. And then you realize most greats don't just go out winning the Super Bowl playing well like John Elway. I know Peyton Manning won the Super Bowl, but we all watched that. He was a shell of himself. We saw Roethlisberger last year, shell of himself. Marino at the end of his career, shell of himself. Remember that Favre season? That was a debacle. Most guys go out not on a high note. They struggle. That's part of being a great player. When it ends, it's usually ugly. In the history of sports, that's always what happens. Somehow, with pliability, avocado ice cream, this dude has circumvented it all. It's been crazy, fun to watch. It's why he's such a fascinating player. We've never seen anything like it. And let's face it, for the first time this season, he has not been good. He was terrible in the first half. He looks just like if you didn't know who it was, you got the hair plugs, he's super skinny, you'd go, this guy's a pretty marginal player. And then what happened? I got my take. I wrote it all down. I'm like, this is how it's going to go. He's going to be a 8-9 playoff team. He's going to get his ass kicked in the first round. This season, my thought was, like anything, right? When you do something and you become, it makes you miserable, you hate it, it takes the joy out of whatever you like doing out of it. It would have to make you question, do I like doing this? We know Tom Brady loves football as much as any human being can love any single thing, right? That's not debatable, not arguable. No one would even push back if you went, Tom Brady likes football more than anyone else loves, whatever. We'd be like, yeah, you can't like football or love football or be obsessed with football more than Tom Brady has for the last 2 decades. And you watch him now, you go, it feels like the joy, the passion has been ripped out of him. And because of that, it might make him, even though he might have some opportunities this offseason that might make some sense, him go, screw it, I'm out. I'll go call some games on Fox. I'll chill. I'll hit the single life. I don't know if, Tom Brady's hitting the bars, but my DMs will be packed and I'll be living the good life. And then the last 5 minutes happen and you go, holy shit, you know what? Duke can still play. Leads the game-winning drive. I think it was either Joe Buck or Troy Aikman said at the end of the game, that's the latest, and he's had a million of them, he's ever thrown a game-winning touchdown. And he was just methodical, driving them right down the field. It was like a boxer who still had him on the ropes, throwing body blows, hitting him with the uppercut, another body blow. The guy doesn't know where it's coming from. And then at the end of the game with like 20 seconds left, most people would freak out, call a timeout. He's in complete control. Calling plays at the line of scrimmage. Clearly, it ain't coming from the coaching staff. he forces Dennis Allen to call a timeout. And the moment Dennis Allen calls a timeout, you go, Tom's locked and loaded. Once that happened, I went, he's going to find a way to throw a touchdown. And then he literally throws 2 touchdowns. He throws the game winner to Godwin that gets called back with a holding penalty. And then he's able to hit another pass, I think to Godwin, then obviously hit the running back for the game winner. And you just go, like, I understand. Like Giselle, I know you want him to retire or wanted him to. Now you guys are broken up. He works 6 months a year, and he's still elite at his job. He doesn't want to retire because he still has that in the bag. Now, I think it's fair to question, can he do that consistently like he once did? You would say probably not, right? He's 45 years old. But clearly, when you watch football and he still has that ability, you go, I understand where he's coming from. And it made me go, for a lot of this season, when you watched him and it looks like he's miserable, it looks like he has no joy, it looks like he didn't even want to be there. Like, if he could, he would tap out and he'd go somewhere else. Not like to a different team. He would just not be there with Tampa Bay. It's moments like that, the smile on his face, they get the competitive juices going, they get that Patriot vibe back in him, like him and Bill just beat Peyton Manning and the Colts, or they just beat John Harbaugh and the Ravens to go, yeah, I bet Tom's not leaving. Like, maybe I will be open to the fact that he'll come back. Now, he's not coming back to Tampa. And let's acknowledge something. Tom Brady bears some responsibility for this season. Like, Tom Brady, the majority of his career, and he's admitted to this. I think he even told Howard Stern when he first did his big interview, he's been very open since obviously leaving the Patriots because he's allowed to talk, said, they never really asked for my opinion. And when they did, they didn't listen. They knew guys that I wanted to stay and they get rid of them. Welker, Logan Mankins, you name it. Hell, they tried to trade Gronk. He had no power. And historically, unlike the NBA or even baseball, if you're a huge contract guy, you have no juice as a football player. Even if you're Tom freaking Brady, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, those guys are not telling Brandon Beane and Brett Veach who to sign. Now, they may say something, but they don't actually have the juice. And once he got to Tampa, he had full autonomy to do whatever he wanted, right? He brought Alex Guerrero. They started listening to all the signings. He wanted Antonio Brown. Boom, Antonio Brown's there. Anything he wanted, he got. And then this offseason, he retires. And then all of a sudden, 30 days later, Bruce Arians gone and he comes back. Like, he got Bruce Arians fired, which I get. Like, I can't relate to Tom in the sense that I didn't have to spend every day around Bruce Arians. I didn't have to deal with Bruce Arians from a coaching standpoint. But here's what I know. When Bruce Arians coaches your team, you're pretty good. Is he Bill Belichick? Is he Vince Lombardi? Is he Chuck Noll? Is he like some all-time great coach? No, but he's damn good relative to the majority of coaches. And he's way better than Todd Bowles. Like, Bruce Arians has been a head coach at Arizona and at Tampa, and they've won at a high rate. When you watch Todd Bowles coach, now with the Jets and now with the Bucs, they're just not as good. They are just missing something. I've been around Todd. Great guy. Pretty even keeled. One thing about Bruce Arians, kind of fucking crazy. And sometimes you need a little crazy in your building. And I watched the Bucs. It kind of lacked that. Because you think Tom at 45 is going to be as crazy as he once was at 35 and staying on every guy, making sure some of these guys are doing the right things? No, he's 45 years old. He's playing with some guys that are 22, 23, 24 years old. And he signed up for this. And he didn't just sign up for this. He forced their hand. He created this. So this season, which feels destined 9-8, win the division, play the Cowboys, probably be an underdog, and I'm going to pick the Cowboys to win that game. So they're going to win the worst division in football, and then they're going to host a playoff game because of the way the NFL playoffs work, but I would expect them to lose. I mean, their offense, despite they obviously got the pass interference at the end of the game, and that final drive, which was impressive, is hideous. Like, it's really hard to watch. I mean, I'm having the thought tonight going, listen, I've never been a big AFC, NFC South guy. Like, when it comes to Southern football, I like it. It's called the SEC. I don't watch the Atlanta Falcons. I don't watch Tampa Bay. I don't watch the Houston Texans. I don't watch those two divisions play football. I watch Florida. I watch LSU. I watch Georgia. I watch Bama. But I don't mess with the pro game. Occasionally when Tennessee, when they're good. But for the most part, I don't watch those two divisions. And tonight, that division, I mean, the NFC South is borderline unwatchable. It's Monday Night Football. We're going to watch millions of people. But if you put that game on Sunday, just with a full slate, let's face it, if you're not some Tampa Bay or New Orleans football fan, not a soul's watching that game. if it's around other good games or just a normal slate of football. And for the majority of that game, it wasn't watchable because the Saints suck too. Their defense has been playing a lot better the last couple of weeks. Their offense isn't great, even though Andy Dalton has actually shown some signs of life. And I actually think someone will have him as a backup quarterback next year. But they're a 4-9 team who does not own their first round pick. I think, if they mattered more to the landscape of the league, we'd go, is Dennis Allen one and done? I could see them giving him another year, but I would say he's already on thin ice. He stinks. He's not very good. And the Todd Bowles situation, what is Tampa going to do next year at quarterback when Tom Brady either just goes to Fox or leaves to another team? Because I think it's pretty clear he's not coming back to Tampa Bay. And he left them with Todd Bowles. Now, maybe Bruce Arians would have retired anyway. He even said he wanted to be in a position, which I do think was true. I don't think it was true necessarily this year, to be able to hand it off to either Bowles or Leftwich. Here's the thing. You could argue Byron Leftwich screwed up a little bit because remember, the Jacksonville Jags wanted to make him the head coach, but he didn't want to work for Trent Baalke, which I understand. I saw Trent Baalke working with some coaches in, my time around Trent Baalke in the Bay Area. It did not go well. Tough guy to deal with. But Byron Leftwich was going to be a head coach after those 2 years with Tampa when Bruce Arians was a head coach. Byron Leftwich is not getting hired after this season. They're one of the worst offenses in the league. They can't run the ball. Beside those 2 drives, they can't pass the ball. It's pretty ugly. And, this is where coaches will tell you, you got to strike when the iron's hot. Because sometimes you see an assistant coach take a job either as a coordinator or either as a head coach. And knowing some of these guys over the years, they will tell you, a lot can change in a year, man. One injury, one bad season, no one's calling you. So when you get offered promotions, when you get offered the chances to lead a unit or lead a team, you just sometimes got to do it. And I know you can be choosy when you're Sean Payton, when you're Jim Harbaugh, when you're these established guys. But when you're getting your first shot, I would have thought coming into this season, Byron Leftwich, lock, he'll be a lock head coach. I will be stunned if he's an NFL head coach based on this year. Because now, we'd go, well, Bruce was the offensive guy. Right. So how much of the offense was Bruce in control of? And now how much Byron and Tom, it's just been ugly. And Tom created this. Tom signed up for this. But what a roller coaster ride. And, you think about some of the great players of all time, right? I mean, Tiger Woods can't walk anymore. It's over. He's 45, 46 years old. And he's a golfer. Basketball, Michael Jordan on the Wizards. It's it usually just ends kind of weird. Even Tom, if this is his last year, is still having some moments. Remember the game-winning drive against the Rams, game-winning drive here against the Saints on Monday Night Football. But I think those type moments, even in the shittiest season, what feels like of his career, and you could argue it probably is, in terms of their record, if they're a one-and-done team, it was just a bad season. Those couple moments, those 3 or 4 game-winning drives, 2 or 3, however many it turns out at the end of the season, might be enough for Tom to go, you know what? This is why I'm not tapping out yet. I still got it. And, I'd go, I get it.